Hello and welcome. I was on YouTube a few years ago looking at videos and I started to see a pattern, and a lot of them were around the same thing, addressing what the abuser was doing, whether they were missing a person, whether they were hurting. Did they really mean for the relationship to be over? Were they coming back? And some of the big ones were, did they really love me? And was this all a lie? And I remember those questions myself right at the beginning. In fact, that went on for a little while, those two big ones. Was this a lie? Did they really love me? And the reason you have been left with these questions and these emotions is because they consumed your life. They created bonds that were so strong, you are now missing them so much you can't move on. And you might have been told that you were the only person that ever understood them. And you're now finding it so hard, wondering how they move on, how they just walk away. And you want to know, possibly, because this was one of the questions I wanted to know, is if they were in as much pain as you are. They should be, shouldn't they? Welcome to the Divorce Sanctuary. I'm Elizabeth, author of Finding Lily and the A to Z of Emotional Abuse. On this channel, I talk about healing from emotional abuse and divorcing emotionally from the abuser. I want to remind you that love should be unconditional and divorcing emotionally is life-changing. I want to help you understand and process what's going on the inside and help you discover the best tools to heal on a deeper level, becoming the best version of yourself. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're returning, welcome back and thank you so much. And anything that I mention in the video, you will find in the description box below. There is a reason that you are left with these feelings. They consumed your life. They created bonds that were so strong and you're missing them so much you can't move on. You're hoping for closure, and you're not going to get it. This is something that you have to create yourself. And because you were told you were the only person that ever understood them, you might be struggling to understand how they can just walk away. And you might want to know if they're in as much pain as you are. And if you stay to the end of the video, I will share with you my little secret ingredient that is so important to healing from these relationships. When you discover this world, you might have been in so much pain trying to understand what's happened. But once you start to understand your relationship, and it might have possibly been with a narcissist, emotional abuser, or with a toxic person, you might think, wow, I'm going to get closure now. But sadly, just because you have connected the dots and you've made this discovery, it doesn't offer this instant healing. The bonds that they create penetrate so deeply that you need to untangle from them gently. They will never take responsibility for their actions, and you won't officially know the truth, as they very probably won't agree to a diagnosis. They don't see there's anything wrong with their behaviour, so they don't believe they're doing anything wrong. The bonds they create are one-sided, so you bonded to them, they didn't bond to you. The dictionary definition of outsmart is a verb. It's to defeat or get the better of someone by being clever or cunning. So my question is that what you want? To get the better of them? Perhaps you want to hurt them in a way that you are hurting now. And you wouldn't be alone. Your emotions might be swinging backwards and forwards like a pendulum, from wanting them back to hating them. And the ideal place is going to be right in the middle, and indifference. I have been where you are now. I've been hurt by toxic and emotionally abusive people. And in my case, my romantic relationships, it wasn't just one. I've managed a few. There's a wounding to the soul, and you don't ever believe you will recover from it. So I want to go through 7 steps that you can take to outsmart the narcissist. Don't ever try and use the techniques the narcissist use against you on them. You will get hurt. There's something magical about you, something pure. Your energy, your creativity, your laughter. There was something very unique about you that the abuser needed. And you were picked and you were groomed. So everything you said and did was watched and noted. The interest in you wasn't exactly what you thought it was. So you might have been swept off your feet with compliments, gifts, days out, meals out. You treated really well, every need catered for. You may have been woken in the morning to find a message from them. And this was deliberate, and they might have done the same thing at the end of the day. They were ensuring that the first thing you think about and the last thing you think about is them. You believe that that is what's happening for them as well, but unfortunately, I'm not saying this is the truth in every case, but they might be sending that message to a few different people. So the first thing you can do to outsmart a narcissist or emotional abuser is to heal yourself. During the relationship, you experienced abuse that only now you might be starting to discover and understand how deep this runs. People who've never experienced this type of abuse are not going to understand what you've been through. It's a very particular type of hurt, and it penetrates on every single layer of your being. There's a pain that emanates deep from your soul, and this pain courses through your veins, leaving you feeling like your heart has been frozen and your trust in any human has been destroyed. Do not engage with your abuser. Disappear like a wounded animal. Run away and lick your wounds. And do not put a time limit on your healing. Allow yourself time to understand what happened. Put a limit on that. Otherwise, you might run down a rabbit hole which you might never get out of, which makes you not only hurt but also lost. Once you take this step to heal, also commit to look further into this relationship and understand why part of you allowed this to happen. And this is really important. I'm also going to speak, this is part of my secret ingredient I'll share with you later. But in my online workshop, it stops here. I give you lots of different tools to have honest conversations with yourself. And this is going to be part of the key to helping you understand what happened. So the second thing you can do to outsmart a narcissist is don't react. Going no contact is going to help you hugely. You might remember the peace that you experienced when the relationship first ended. So this is going to bring you peace. No contact will bring you that peace. What might not be clear at the moment is how much their actions are going to create pain and the game that they might play. But ultimately, if you work this correctly, it might actually help with your healing. And if you can't do the no contact, then use the grey rock method, removing the emotion. And my suggestion is that you think of this now. It is a relationship. You still have a form of relationship if you need to be in contact with them. But think of this as working with a contract or a supplier, and if you were doing some negotiations with them, you wouldn't be handing over your personal information. So treat it in a way that this is now a business negotiation. Step back from any communication that you get from them and don't show them any reaction. Supply is feeding them. It's like their food. It's their nectar. It's their electricity. It's their power. It shows them how much control they still have over you. So if you're still in communication with them, take a step back. And if you can, get somebody else to monitor your emails, your letters, any messages you get from them. If you can't do that, my suggestion is that you take your device, whether it's your phone, your laptop, tablet, and you put it in another room, in the bottom of a wardrobe, under a bed. And if you can, go out for a walk, but distract yourself. Make sure you center and come into your body, because from your body you think in a different way to in your head. And then when you're ready, go back. If you can leave it 24 hours without looking, perfect. If you can't, go back and read through. Do not react. And I have some other tips on that, and I will put some links to videos. I also did a podcast on that the other day, so I'll put the link to that podcast on it as well. Remember, you're still in a state of hyper alert. It's so easy to see things that aren't being said or aren't there. It's easy to be drawn into situations through fear. And fear is a huge emotion. And there are so many different emotions that stem from that. This fear might come from the relationship and not understanding how you'll cope or live without them. They put themselves in a place of power and control, and they possibly told you how lucky you were to have them in your life. The third thing you can do is firefighting. So they might try to attack you personally about the things you do or how you behave. It might be on your appearance. They might also use techniques like triangulation, their second favourite tool after gaslighting, comparing you to other people in their life, creating jealousy. Use the technique stop, drop, roll. So if you were on fire, you would be told to stop where you are, to drop onto the floor and to roll either in something or on the floor to smother the flames. So using this technique to protect yourself, you can create or start your healing journey. Stop. If you have received a message or some form of communication, don't reply. Do not press the reply button. Close the message, tell yourself you'll respond later. Then drop into the emotion. Feel where it is in your body. And once you've tracked it down, you might find it in your stomach or in your heart, or you might find a pain in your kidneys. So drop into your body and then roll it around. So rather than smothering the emotions, and that can be in any way, shape or form, or pretending they're not there, or like somebody trips over and you think, wow, that must hurt, and they jump up and they say, I'm okay. Actually go into that emotion and roll it around. Look inside for the memory. Find out where this emotion comes from. And once you feel your response is not going to be through that emotion, you can then respond. So it is linked to number 2. But this is actually where you can do a lot of healing work. Find out where this pain is actually coming from. You can also do this face to face as well. So if a verbal attack comes your way, stop, drop into the emotion, roll it around, roll it off you, and do not respond. It's the response that they're looking for. This response, knowing that they've hurt you, knowing that they've got control over you or still power over you, is their power. It's what they need. That's what they're looking for. This is why they do the things they do. My number 4 step, if for outsmarting a narcissist, is mind the gap. They're very fragile and insecure people. So they use other people to fill their hole, to fill the gaps. They're like vampires sucking out the life force of our lives, topping up on the missing parts that they don't have. They don't know who they are. So they wear a mask, pretend to be somebody else, pretending to be the person they believe that you're looking for in a partner. And then they blame shift. It wasn't them. And they project their incomplete or missing parts onto you, saying that you have a problem. Stop and ask yourself, is this true? It's an amazing statement, because you can step back and discover that actually a lot of this isn't true. I was told that I had trust issues. It might be something that you've heard as well. And I believed that this was the reason our relationship was breaking down, until a long time after the relationship was over, I realised the trust issues actually came from the first year of our relationship. I was also told, we believe you're bipolar, because I was using these techniques to control my emotions. It took me 6 years to work out that statement wasn't true. I'm not saying that I don't have a mixture of emotions. I think we all do. But I was not giving the reaction that was expected. And I realised after 6 years of believing that I had mental health issues and I was bipolar, that our relationship wasn't based on truth. The majority of things that happened were lies. So why was I holding on to this one statement? It's a very powerful question. Use it and see what happens. My 5th tool is to disengage. Find ways to disengage from their power games. During the relationship, you might have heard them speak about other relationships and they were always the victim. And you possibly sympathise with them and gave them the attention that they were looking for. All they need is attention. And they don't care if it's good or bad attention. They just need attention in some way, like a vampire needs blood to survive. So my 6th tool is to refuse to play. This is a game. And the bigger, the higher, the deeper your boundaries were, increase the challenge for them. So the challenge is to see how far they can push you before you'll fall, to see how far you'll go to protect the relationship, and what and who you'll give up for them, to prove how much you love them, because they can't love themselves. And in fact, they don't have any empathy, so they are unable to form any emotional attachment. But they are good actors and they can fake it. And this game has interchangeable rules. If they believe you have understood them, they'll change the rules for their pleasure. So when you start to realize by doing something or behaving in a certain way or what they're doing, they just change the goalposts, they change the rules. And at the end of the relationship, they still want to play to prove how much power and control they still have over you. This is what it comes down to. This is what the hoovering is about. And the seventh thing you can do to outsmart a narcissist is to listen to your body. Learn what you need. You very possibly are experiencing some form of trauma in your body and a lot of fear. You were told you couldn't live without them, or what an amazing person they are, and how lucky you are or were to have them in your life. From the moment they held your hand as you stepped up onto the pedestal they presented to you, they have been playing a game. This is your time to understand and understand what techniques work best for your healing, whether it is meditation, deep breathing, visualization techniques, reducing the emotional triggers and the stress. You might not want to give up on the relationship. You might have been trained to keep chasing the love and attention if that's what you experienced as a child. It could be the chemical addiction that takes place with the trauma bonding. Another reason could be cognitive dissonance, gaslighting, triangulation, or the other manipulative tools that they have used to convince you that you are the problem, not their bad behaviours. If you haven't divorced them emotionally, you might still be trying to make sense of the feeling of overwhelm and trying to balance your emotions. And there might be part of you that would be willing to accept them back on any terms. Trauma bonding is horrific and it keeps you trapped. And these people are masters of manipulation. You believed what they were telling you. They reminded you constantly how amazing you were. They told you how you were meant to be together, and they told you that no one understood them in the way that you did. They will always play the victim. They carefully play a game, trigger your responses. And if you can't go no contact, then please watch my video on responding, not reacting. I also did a podcast on it recently. A lot of people coming out of this type of relationship experience complex post-traumatic stress disorder or adrenal fatigue, fear and trigger responses. They experience nightmares and flashbacks. And only someone who has gone through this type of relationship will truly understand what it's like, why people want to go back, and why it feels safer in the relationship than it does out of it. You might have been told you can't survive without them. In fact, all your life this fear might have been created. It's been passed through the millennia. Rejection from a tribe is dangerous. When I wrote my book, The A to Z of Emotional Abuse, I was finding all these different words. It was like a different language. It describes the techniques that we use to manipulate you. So if you're experiencing some really powerful traumatic reactions to anything, please go and seek help. The abuser gets you addicted to them. They are your drug of choice. And like with any substance that is toxic to you, at some point you have to say enough is enough. And at that point, you might find it easy to walk away, or you might struggle with withdrawal. Many describe this as like being weaned off heroin. Abusers are masters of manipulation, and they use words to deceive, coerce, seduce, and mislead you in order to gain power and control. They got you addicted to hormones. They created an environment that felt safe to you. They broke down your boundaries. They told you you're crazy or paranoid when you started to question things and that it was all your fault. They make you question yourself, and they tell you that other people think you're crazy, insecure, or insert whichever term or word you heard. I said I would share with you my secret ingredient that is so important to this healing, and that is talking to yourself and being really honest. Let me explain. When you want to reach out, I say reach in. The original wound is where it all started. When I say I understand how horrific this is, I really do. Each story is different, but the problem is the same, or the pattern is the same: idealization, devaluation, and discard. It's a cycle, and it can go on for years. The longer it goes on, the more enmeshed you become. Invisible trains trapping you. I had to go back, and I lost track of how many 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and 8-year-olds that I needed to heal. And it's like a verruca. The trauma is like a virus. It penetrates on every level of your skin. And if it's not fully removed, the verruca lays dormant. That virus lays dormant until it is triggered again. And it's the same for the original wound. If you do not fully heal that wound, it will appear again to you. You will keep meeting people who treat you in the same or a similar way. You might not want to give up on the relationship. If you've experienced trauma or emotional abuse as you were growing up from a parent or caregiver, you might have been trained at a young age to keep chasing, to keep hanging on, to stay and never give up on the relationship. And if you've been hoovered and that hoover was successful, please forgive yourself. They will be remorseful with promises of change. And you might have found yourself in a safe environment that you were used to. We have an inbuilt fear of a rejection from the tribe, passed down through generation to generation. And when you are finally ready to let go, to move away, find a tribe who are there and able to support you through this, and set boundaries to make sure you stick to them. When you want to reach out, this is the time to reach in and have honest conversations with yourself. Talk to the pain. I promise you, it will respond back. You will understand or understand how old that child is or that person is and what they really want. That moment you want to reach out, you could take a bath, sit on your phone, breathe through the pain, or cry it out until you have nothing left. But that honest conversation, do you really want this person in your life? Or is there a young child that's inside you, an inner child that actually needs some attention, and you're mixing the messages? Coming out of these relationships, you have more questions than answers, and it's really easy to slip into rumination. This is a process of thinking about the same thoughts, and they tend to be deep and dark and sad. It can be dangerous for your mental health. It prolongs your ability to think and process your emotions. So ground into your body. Being in your body and out of your head is going to help you move through this. In your body, your mind isn't going searching for the examples of how much they did love you. In your body, you can see this as an abusive relationship. It's certainly not healthy. So by being in your body and grounding into the earth, or you could be breathing, box breathing, which is counting, you're balancing your hormones, calming down your nervous system. You can write out what happened and give yourself permission to call this abusive. You might still be protecting this person, justifying their behavior. You were trained to do that. The reason they treated you the way was because you were trained. They told you their victim stories. Most of us have experienced some form of trauma in our lives, but we don't treat people in the same way. And with your story, remind yourself it was abuse. When you call it abuse, that's when your healing starts to speed up. I promise you, asking yourself what you need, talking to yourself, and having really honest conversations of what you really desire is going to move your healing forward. And the other question was, is this true? So when you start to question whether this was your fault, ask yourself, is this true? And you might find memories of when you were told a victim story, and you might start to piece things together. I hope you found this video helpful in some way. If you did, please share and consider subscribing to the channel. I will put, as I said, the links below of everything that I've spoken about. My course, It Stops Now, will help you have those honest conversations. It also comes with a workbook, some MP3 meditations, as well as a video to accompany the workbook. I'm sending you loads and loads and loads of love until next time.